What is going on, guys? In today's brief video, we are going to be doing a behavior compass analysis of an undercover FBI officer. So without further ado, let's get straight into it.
And then there was a roller chair like that should be behind the desk and it's backed in the corner. And I see this guy over there and he looks terrified. He's like, I can see the carotid artery in his neck just bouncing, boom, boom, boom. And
So immediately, within the first 12 seconds, I have some things to say. So the first thing is that this is a man that learns and ingests life through a visual lens. So immediately, he's talking about how he sees the carotid artery bouncing up and down. He's looking at the situation, and I'm sure as we go into further into the interview, he's going to be describing his life through the lens of looking. If it was an auditory, he'd be like, I heard this, I heard that. If it was kinesthetic, it would be like, I felt this, I felt that. But no, it's all visual. And also the tattoos, the long beard, this is going to be deviance. He wants to show that he's not your average Joe. He's not trying to conform. He's not trying to, do things out of necessity. He wants to stand out. And for that, I'm also going to put significance, not significance, I'm sorry, strength. Strength because he has the muscles popping out, the long beard, and he's got the camo pants. He wants to kind of give off the vibe that he's not to be messed with. So let's see what else we can get from this man.
And the chair's backed in the corner, so it doesn't look like it's where it's supposed to be. And he's leaned back in the chair, kind of holding himself like this. And he's not saying a word, and he looks just ghostly white and terrified. I look down at the dope, and I look around, and I realize, like, we ain't getting out of here. They're going to kill us. They'll take the 20 grand that I got. They'll wrap that dope back up. They'll take off. They'll go back to Mexico. Kill us both. No one will ask any questions. They know what they're doing.
Mm.
I grew up in a small town in Iowa, and not a lot of people probably met people from a small town in Iowa. And I didn't know why I had a fascination with law enforcement, but like somehow I was drawn to it.
Fascination, so I didn't say anything when I wrote the terrified negative, but these are adjectives right here if you're unacquainted with the behavior compass. So basically, if we wanted to relate with this man better, we would use the adjectives that he uses in a day-to-day basis because it resonates better with him. So if we wanted to say something positive, we would say, oh my God, that's so fascinating. Or if we wanted to make something negative to him, we would use terrified. But I'll only do 2 or 3 of these adjectives. I'm sure there'll be more, but we're kind of doing this from the lens of I want to be able to do this in real time, in real life. So you're not always going to be able to just sit there behind a screen and watch an interview. If you're using these techniques and these tactics, you're going to be out in the fields and you're not going to be able to keep 6 different adjectives in your brain, right? So let's continue.
I didn't know it at the time. I was a kid and I was playing football, and the Iowa National Guard came by, and they dropped off a watermelon to the football team. And I thought, man, I want to be in the Army. I want to be something amazing. I want to do stuff that chases adrenaline, and had this fascination, this kind of fantasy of like being a ranger or doing some kind of crazy Army stuff. And
Okay, so he says that he wants to be something. He wants to do something awesome and crazy. So this would give me the idea that he has a significance need. He wants to, sorry about that. He wants to be somebody one day. He wants to not be overlooked. He wants to be significant. He wants to leave an impact, right? And that also leads me to the recognition value. So he wants to be recognized for his work. He wants to be something. And what does being something entail? Being something is subjective or objective to the other person that is looking at you, right? So he wants to be recognized for being something. Let's continue.
they were like, listen, you can sign up now, and you can go to boot camp between your junior and senior year of high school. And I didn't know what that was going to do for my life, but I got it. The first time I'd ever been on an airplane in my entire life, I was 17. I left a small town named Clarendon, Iowa, flew to Fort Benning, Georgia. First time I'd been away from home, first time I'd really been outside of Iowa other than some of my experiences younger in my life. And I went to boot camp, learned a lot of discipline, came back, played football my senior year, went to high school like a normal kid would, I guess. I grew up with people who had strong work ethic. They had good morals, kind people, hardworking people. But I was kind of isolated to this like same group of people who, no disrespect to them, but the rest of the world was so big and unexperienced to most of them. And I was dying to get out of it, like in a way, like I wanted to see more. And so my first trip out was to Fort Benning. I came back with discipline and
And he also talks about how he wants to go see more, he wants to do more. So I'd also put experiences as another value. And let's continue.
a new kind of strength, a new kind of independence, a new kind of confidence. And they wouldn't let me go full army yet. So I had to stay there for a few years. So I decided to go to college under the GI Bill. And I started college, but I wasn't feeling it. My aunt got me a job working at the sheriff's office in a jail. And so I'm working in a jail and I'm dealing with this different side of society I'd never met, the criminal world, people that have been into trouble, people that are struggling in their lives. I'm starting to learn how to like have conversations with these people. And I'm learning about them and I'm learning how to articulate myself and talk my way in and out of stuff, like you have to be careful when you deal with these types of people, the alpha males, these people who've been through different traumas and different violences and different kinds of things in their life. You can't tough guy them because they'll tough guy you back. So you learn how to like empathize and sympathize, yet remain in a position of authority and kind of how to like talk your way in and out of trouble for the most part. While I was working there, the sheriff at the time, um, basically I had taken a test. Like I knew I at some point I decided like, this is a pretty fascinating career. Like in my mind, in my fantasies, like I always dreamed about like working undercover in law enforcement. And at first it was like, I don't know what this is going to be or what this means, but he gave me an opportunity. He was like, one of the deputies had gotten fired. He'd actually been charged with child abuse. He had harmed both of his twin children. He'd been indicted. He was in jail, and we had an opening. And another couple of guys left him to the state patrol. And so this sheriff at the time, who had kind of got to know me as a young kid, I was only 19 when I started there. He said, "Hey, I have an opportunity. I want to send you to the police academy. You'd taken a test, and you were put on like a qualification list, basically like you're on a hireable list." And I think he was looking for someone more mature and someone who had experience, but in this time of need and this kind of desperate moment where he needed personnel, he said he'd called the Iowa Law Enforcement Academy and said, "I can send you to the police academy, but you can't own your own gun and you can't buy ammunition." But he was like, "I found out we can own the gun and we can buy the ammunition and we can put you through the academy." So I go through this police academy. At the time, that was like very structured, similar to boot camp, which I had basically just gotten out of. And
Software Underbelly is about giving people a space to tell their
And there's an ad. Okay, we have most of the stuff that we need anyway. I'm just trying to listen for internal, external locus of control. I already think it's internal. And I'm trying to watch for the gestural hemispheric tendency. So the entire time, he always looks to his right whenever he's accessing information, whether it's positive or negative. So I'm also looking at his hands. Which hand does he use when he's describing things? Uh, like a couple minutes ago, he was talking about the jail, the criminal charges that people were getting. He's using his left hand. He can also use mostly his right hand for everything else. So I'm gonna put right, but that's a little bit ambiguous. So we'll leave it there. It's been 6 minutes. I'm gonna keep it true to Chase Hughes's beautiful and awesome ways. This is what I have. If you have any agreements or disagreements, please let me know. Comments below. Thank you guys.